Hey, welcome back. I'm sorry I've been AWOL the last couple of weeks. I have been hit with sickness after sickness after sickness, and then my kid was sick, and so he wasn't at daycare, so I was back to being full-time mum, and it's just been a bit crazy. So my voice still isn't quite back to normal, and I'm going to try really hard not to push it. It's at a point where I know I can speak okay, and I'm not going to do any big damage from speaking now. But last week was a whole different story. So I am just going to muddle through and chat to you about what's going on in this. But I apologize that I might not do any kind of vocal examples for you because my vocal health is more important. So let's go. I'm going to do Suga from BTS. I'm going to react to Suga's new one with, I think it's Ayu as pronunciation. I'm sorry if that is really wrong. It means I get to listen to two great voices in one track, and I briefly heard a snippet of it and I really liked it. So let's have a listen and go over this and see what there is to talk about.
So time is not writing go. I know you know anything is no. So time is not writing go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
사랑이라는 말 어쩌면 순간의 감정의 날 조건이 붙진 않은 무얼 사랑하는가 충분히 사랑받지 못한 나이 그래서 무엇보다 신중한 타입 나는 말에 원해 진중한 사 알잖아 영원은 못했어 잔잔한 파도에도 힘없이 쉽게 무너져 상실은 무엇 때문에 슬픈 걸까 사실은 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 So far away you're gone Getting far away Too far away you're gone I know I have to know yeah.
So time is not writing go. I know you know anything is no. So time is not writing go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
당신은 무엇 때문에 슬픈 걸까 사실은 두려움이 큰 거잖아 함께 미래 그리던 우리는 없고 쌓은 모든 성들을 부셔버린 것은 우린 걸 승패가 없는 게임이라지만 난 언제나 게임 루저 모든 걸 주겠다던 우린 모든 것을 부셔 그리고 떠나지 사랑이던 사람이든 모두가 이기적이기 때문이야 So far away you're gone Getting far away Too far away you're gone I know I have to know yeah.
So time is not writing go. I know you know anything is no. So time is not writing go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
떠가는 사람 떠가는 사람 사랑의 끝은 과연 무엇일까 수많은 사람 스쳐간 사람 사랑은 사랑으로 완벽할까 그래 말야 이타적인 게 어쩌면 되려 이기적이네 널 위해 한다는 말은 곧 내 욕심이기에 욕심을 버리면 행복해질 건가 채우지 못한 반쪽짜리 허상 삶은 저항과 복종 사이의 싸움이라는데 내가 보기에는 외로움들과의 싸움이네 눈물이 터져 나오면 그대 울어도 돼 당신은 사랑받기에도 이미 충분한데
Time is not writing go. I know you know anything is no. So time is not writing go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
대부분 다 뭐 사람들한테 전달하고 싶은 이야기도 있지만 나 자신한테 이야기를 하는 것처럼 들린다라는 이야기를 많이 들었거든요. 사실이기도 하고요. 그때 당시에 코로나로 여러 가지 것들을 할 수 없을 때 굉장히 모든 것을 잃어버렸다라고 생각을 했을 때 썼던 곡이기 때문에 나 자신한테 되게 해주고 싶었던 이야기였습니다.
I thought I'd leave that last bit in there for you because it explains a bit about a comment that I would have otherwise said if I hadn't watched that last bit. I don't know, which was that it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, some of the lyrics in English. Maybe it's different in Korean, but some of the chorus lyrics didn't quite make sense. But maybe that explains it. Maybe it wasn't meant to make a whole lot of sense if it was during a time when COVID put everything up in the air. And yeah, I don't know. That was just kind of my first thought. But now I've listened to that, it puts a bit of perspective on it. Let's go back and analyze it.
So time is not frightened go. I know you know anything is no. So time is not frightened go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
On these vocals, she is right in her mixed range, in her chest mix and her head mix, and kind of going between the two. Her chest mix has that kind of held back sound to it, but she's got enough pressure behind it that there isn't strain. She's probably held it back dynamically so that she doesn't have to belt it because it's not meant to be a belted song. The genre that this song is written in, being kind of like a hip-hoppy pop type song, is that it's not meant to have massive belts in it. It's not meant to be a ballad, and keeping her voice more the same dynamically gives it a much nicer effect, and it transitions really nicely with her head mix, which is a lot softer. If she took that chest mix and gave it a lot more air behind it and turned it into a belt, it would be such a huge contrast from the little head flips that she's doing throughout this chorus, and I don't think it would fit so well. So I like that she's held back her chest mix here. When we talk about our vocal health with our chest mix, overall, it does tend to be better to have more air behind it than less air behind it because it increases the stability of vibration for our vocal folds when we're up there at those notes. It gives it the support we need from the compressed breath pressure. So take it back to the, it was either the Jin or JK video that I did. Practice on one of your lower chest mix notes so it's a bit easier, but still so it's in a chest mix and not purely in your chest voice. And practice going from quiet to loud to quiet on the same note, just holding it through and getting louder and softer on a chest mix note. I'm trying really, really hard to hold myself back from demonstrating that for you guys, but I know that my voice is just not in a place where I should be doing it right now. So go look at one of those videos if you want. And that's the sound that I'm talking about here in her chest mix.
사랑이라는 말 어쩌면 순간의 감정의 날 조건이 붙진 않은 무얼 사랑하는 충분히 사랑받지 못한 나이 그래서 무엇보다 신중한 타입 나는 말에 원해 진중한 사 알잖아 영어는 못했어 잔잔한 파도에도 힘없이 쉽게 무너져
I love these bits so much. So he's taken the ends off and some of them he's still dropped to a whisper. What happens when we whisper, some of you may have heard other voice teachers and vocal coaches saying that whispering is harder for our vocal folds than it is to speak normally. Whether I think it puts that much more stress on our vocal folds, I'm not entirely sure at this point. But what happens is we have arytenoid cartilages. Let me see. I've recently got this tool. Oh. I know some of you will be like, what is that? This is your larynx. This is a human anatomy larynx amplified by 2 or 4 or something like that. So if you think about it in here, and your vocal folds are those kind of like flappy bits in the middle that you can see that kind of come out a little bit. That's your vocal folds, and they flap together at whatever vibration per second to get whichever kind of note that you're going for. So if we look at it from this way, so it sits this way. So if we look at it from the back, your arytenoid cartilages is number 9. So if you see where that number 9 is by that white part here, so this bit and this bit, and they're kind of like little hooks. So I kind of envision them to kind of go up and around, little hooks like that. A set of muscles pushing the vocal folds together. So you're only allowing a little triangle at the back there for air to come up through. At the same time, they're being pulled down at the back here by our posterior cricoarytenoid muscles, and they're being pushed forward to keep the vocal folds together. So down and forward, and they just rock back and forth. So that opposing force of being pulled down and pushed forwards at the same time is why whispering is a little bit harder for our vocal folds than it is to speak. If you want to learn any more about voice science and have any questions about this wonderful tool that I've got and want me to do a video pulling it apart and talking through which parts are which, then let me know in the comments.
잔잔한 파도에도 힘없이 쉽게 무너져 상실은 무엇 때문에 슬픈 걸까 사실은 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 So far away you're gone.
Sorry, let's just pull it back to that very last line. He dropped it down so low it became a vocal fry. Vocal fry is sound, and it's when our vocal folds are actually at their most relaxed point that they can be at. So I don't have any problem doing that demonstration for you today. Can do this all day. We're good. It shows for me that this is probably pretty much the lowest that Suga can go.
슬픈 거야 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 So far away you're gone Getting far away Too far away you're gone I know I have to know yeah.
I really like his singing voice. It's a lot higher pitched than I expected from him. I always thought he would be more of a baritone singer than a tenor, maybe a baritone. I haven't heard him singing low. Only his rapping voice is quite low. I haven't heard him speaking a lot. I haven't watched many of his interviews or anything like that. So please feel free to leave comments so I can understand a bit more about his voice. But his rapping speaking pitch is a lot lower than what he's singing here, and this is still in his chest mix area. So I kind of thought that this part would have been in his head voice, but it's not, and it's just interesting to hear such a contrast in pitch between a rapping voice, a rapping more speaking voice, and a singing pitch that I wasn't expecting that to happen.
You're gone. I know I have to know. Yeah.
So time is here, not frightened go. I know you know anything is no. So time is here, not frightened go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
당신은 무엇 때문에 슬픈 걸까? 사실은 두려움이 큰 거잖아. 함께 미래 그리던 우리는 없고 쌓은 모든 성들을 부셔버린 것은 우린 걸. 승패가 없는 게임이라지만 난 언제나 게임 loser. 모든 걸 주겠다던 우린 모든 것.
I really like this verse because it is a slightly higher pitch. If we were just going to drill out the fundamental pitch, it is higher than what I think the first verse was. He's still making great use of his placement to emphasize those kind of lower, slightly more growly tones to his voice that is coming through from underneath. That is all to do with air placement and our resonators and which ones we choose to elaborate on. Placement is the way in which we are manipulating our mouth, our facial features, all sorts of things to change a sound, to manipulate it to where we're holding the air from it, vibrations are bouncing off. All of those things will change the overall shape of how the sound is coming out. And that is why placement is important for singers. The actual pitch that he's talking about is not that low, but he's manipulating it to have much more of a lower, deeper sound.
것을 부셔 그리고 떠나지 사랑이던 사람이든 모두가 이기적이기 때문이야. So far away you're gone Getting far away Too far away you're gone I know I have to know yeah.
So time
Getting far away Too far away you're gone I know I have to know yeah.
So time is here, not frightened go. I know you know anything is no. So time is here, not frightened go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
떠가는 사람 사랑의 끝은 과연 무엇일까 수많은 사람 스쳐간 사랑 사랑은 사랑으로 완벽할까 그래 말야 이타적인 게 어쩌면 되려 이기적이네 널 위해 한다는 말은 곧 내 욕심이기에 욕심을 버리면 행복해지고 채우지 못한 반쪽짜리 허상 삶은 저항과 복종 사이의 싸움이라는데 내가 보기에는 외로움들과의 싸움이 내 눈물이 터져 나오면 그대 울어도 돼 당신은 사랑받기에도
That was such a long stretch to do in one breath. I didn't realize the first time I listened to that how long that phrase was. Let's go back because that was really great.
삶은 저항과 복종 사이의 싸움이라는데 내가 보기에는 외로움들과의 싸움이 내 눈물이 터져 나오면 그대 울어도 돼 당신은 사랑받기에도 이미 충분한데
Okay. All right, let's break this down. Breath pressure. We breathe in. All of the air gets compressed in our lungs. So that is what we're then using to vibrate the vocal folds. It is that pressure that I'm referring to. So call it compressed air, call it breath pressure, call it whatever you like. As a contemporary artist, I would be expecting him to do this quite slow release. So really trying to conserve the air so that he can get through enough of that phrase. But it takes a lot of effort to be able to hold your breath for that long. A lot of voice teachers and vocal coaches that I've seen will also say singing is effectively holding your breath. I disagree with that statement because the air for us is still being used and turned into vibrations by the vocal folds. It's not simply holding it all in and not letting any of the pressure out like it would be if you are holding your breath, like if you're trying to go underwater. However, it is holding your breath in that we are not able to inhale at the same time. So it is time between one inhalation and the next inhalation, not time between inhalation and holding the entire thing in, because for us, we are inhaling and slowly letting parts of it back out to turn into vibrations and then exhaling any remaining CO2 that we have left over afterwards. So it is slightly different when we're talking about holding our breath. Quite a few students that come to me saying, I need to work on my breath. I can't hold my breath for long enough. I really struggle getting through one or two phrases in a row. And there are skills and techniques you can learn to help you progress with those. One of them I do quite often is a sound. So TS. Practice getting it as quiet as you can, but still making a sound, and see how long you can hold it out for. On average, the beginning singer would be able to hold it somewhere between 12 and 16 approximately seconds. As you practice, you should be able to get longer and longer. Try that exercise. You will have to practice it. You can't just do it once or twice and suddenly expect to have the greatest release ever. You need to practice it consistently to be able to get better at this. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you next time. Bye.